Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. This time we are going to be talking about Tecmo World Wrestling on the NES. Tecmo World Wrestling has the best gameplay out of all the wrestling games on the NES that I've played so far. There are plenty of moves to do, a solid roster, and several things that make this game stand out. It has the most extensive set of wrestling moves out of all the games that I've played. Each wrestler has 20 moves, some are unique to that wrestler, and some are basic moves for each character. Characters have grapple moves as well as situational moves like ground attacks, turnbuckle moves, running attacks, that sort of thing. The roster is also fantastic. It's similar to pro wrestling on the NES, with many kind of colorful characters and a few of them that are serious wrestlers, others that really aren't as serious as they probably could be. Here's a quick rundown of them. You have Akira Dragon, El Tigre, Pat Gordon, Rex Beat, Jackie Lee, Boris Chekhov, Mark Rose, Julio Falcon, Randy Gomez, Dr. Guildo? Guildo. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he's in the game. And then there's a non-playable character called Blue King, who plays more into the story of this that I'll get into later on in the video. There are 3 ways to win matches, either by pinfall, submission, or by countout. One thing I've noticed, and I haven't mentioned in other videos on wrestling games, the countouts are to the count of 20 here, where in pro wrestling on TV, it's a count of 10. I'm not sure why. Maybe it has to do with like the Japanese rules that I'm not totally familiar with. But yeah, that's one weird thing that I've noticed about these games so far, and Tecmo World Wrestling is no different. The countouts are to 20. One amazing thing about the game, and I've already shown a clip of it, it's the training parts. So after you've either won or lost a match, you go into these training modes, and you can do either like push-ups, squats, or something else that I can't remember. But it's basically just a button masher where you tap A and B repeatedly, and hopefully you'll gain some power. These are supposed to make you stronger, but I haven't really noticed anything because I got my ass handed to me a lot in this game. There is a single player and a 2-player mode to this, but the single player mode is the one I want to focus on. You just have to beat all of your opponents. Once this is done, then you'll end up facing Blue King, and if you defeat him, then you win the game, and you become the Tecmo World Wrestling Champion. It's a pretty simple way of doing things, and I wish there were more modes in this, like more specialty matches or something like that, but you don't really get those. It's just single player and then tag team, which is fine, but I would have liked to have seen more, especially with how far ahead this game is from a lot of the others on the NES. I love the graphics in this game. This is the best looking wrestling game on the NES, and it looks better than WCW wrestling or pro wrestling. Right now, these are really in my top 3. The 2 that I mentioned, and then this one, Tecmo World Wrestling. The only thing I can say is the crowd could probably be better animated. It's not as lively, I guess, as pro wrestling. It looks alright, and it looks better than WCW wrestling, but it kind of feels a little dead at times. And that's really just me looking for something to complain about in this game. The game has cutscenes. Like, this happens when your character does a special move near the end of the match, and it cuts to like a close-up of the move being done. It's a nice touch. It's something that you might not expect from an NES game, even though I'm finding more cutscenes in other NES games. But here, it's really well done. The matches also have a commentator. This felt like something for the people watching you play. Like if you had your friends over and they were watching the match, they might see what's going on from the commentator or read what the commentator is saying. I never really bothered to pay that much attention to him because I was too busy trying not to get my ass handed to me and failing miserably. But still, I didn't pay as much attention to him as I probably could have. He will just call out the moves that you're doing. He's the one that kind of calls out the pinfalls. He lets you know when things are going wrong for you. And he also will do like the countouts and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's just a running commentary on the game, and it is a little repetitive, but I mean, it's kind of what you would expect from something like this. I don't think it's going to be overly unique. He's just going through a dialogue tree. So I did look up the ending to this, and I won't get into it until I talk about the story, but it is pretty awesome. It's much more cinematic than most NES games. While it is just text with a still image there, it still is done really well. The pictures look really good, and while sometimes it can be a little bit confusing because there are some glaring issues with the text, it's not overly bad. Like nobody's saying congratulations, you are a wise and courageous knight or anything like that. The moves and the animations in this all look great. The cutscenes are a great addition. Tecmo World Wrestling is just a beautiful NES game. The graphics are much better than a lot of the other games from this period, and yeah, it's really the best looking wrestling game on the NES. While Tecmo World Wrestling doesn't have a story mode, there is a storyline that runs through the single-player mode of the game. This isn't out of the norm for games of the 80s and the early 90s, where they were more focused on arcade action, and unless you found one of the rare RPGs on the home console, you didn't really get a story with your video games. There is a short prologue in the manual, and this explains what's happening in the game. It tells you that your character is competing for the Tecmo World Wrestling Championship, but something's really missing on how all these people got together. An epilogue shines some more light on things, but it doesn't do a great job of it. After the manual goes through who each of the wrestlers are, we get told about Blue King. According to the manual, he came in 11th place in the qualifying tournament and did not make it into the championship round of this whole tournament that's been going on. Some mystery is alluded to concerning him, but we don't get much from the manual. He does have kind of a demonic look to his mask because he's a masked wrestler, and why not? Let's have him have a scary mask. It's kind of fun, and it works for what this game is sort of going for. Once you beat the game, you discover that these were supposed to be death matches. This is not mentioned in the manual that I could see, but okay, so everybody that you beat up is dead now. Fair enough. I'm assuming that was one of the lousy translations in the game, but maybe it wasn't. I don't really know. So the lights go out, Blue King arrives, and he looks much more demonic than his picture in the NES manual. Once you beat Blue King, he is sent back to the fires below, meaning he's a real frickin' demon. Somehow this demon did not get into the championship tournament, but okay. But once you beat him and send him back to hell, you're then declared the champion. I feel like you should get more than a championship belt for vanquishing an actual demon, but that's just how the game plays out. So, yeah, you kill a demon and banish it back to hell, and you're given a belt for that. So, thanks, I guess? I can't think of anything more pro wrestling than that. Here's your belt. Please beat more demons for us. As of this recording, I'm kind of debating on which wrestling game is the best. Right now, it's kind of a three-way race between WCW wrestling, Pro Wrestling, and this game, Tecmo World Wrestling. All three of them are great. I'm just trying to decide which one I like more. Tecmo World Wrestling has many things that kind of elevate it above the crowd. Each wrestler feels unique. The game looks great. It's got a really awesome presentation. It's a hard game, but it's not too hard. You can win matches. It's just going to take you a little while and some practice to get better at it. This is one of those games that I would consider to be a hidden gem. I didn't know anything about it, and thanks to the internet, it's more well known now. But I would have loved to have played this game with my friends back when I was a kid. It's one of the best games on the NES, in my opinion, and I wish I had known more about it back when I was creating that list, because this one probably would have been put on there. I would love to hear your thoughts about this game. Please let me know what they are in the comments below, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.